everybody, and welcome to the Think Low Carbon Centre. Thank you for coming along. It's great to see so many people here today, and thank you for coming to help us celebrate the official opening of the centre. Before we begin, I'm just going to give a little bit of housekeeping. We aren't expecting a fire alarm, so if the alarm does sound, then please leave the building via the nearest fire door exit and proceed to the assembly point, which is on the other side of the car park, on the other side of the games area, to the front of the building. And don't use the lift if there is a fire. Toilets are located to the right as you leave this room, and also on the first floor next to where you come out of the lift. And if you have any questions at all throughout the rest of the day, then please find a member of staff at reception desk or look out for myself. We will be running tours and helping people look round and answering any questions after the speeches today. So without any further ado, I'd like to hand over to Frank Johnston, our Chair of Governors, who will now give a welcome speech. Frank.
Thank you, Wendy. Will the people at the rear raise their arms, please? Thank you. You can all hear me. People always fall for the old one. If you can't hear me at the back, let me know. Well, if you can't hear, how can you let me know? I'm not going to talk for very long, but I'd just like to welcome you all here this afternoon, Lord Redesdale and, and George Clark, the architect. It's a pleasure to see so many of you turn here out this afternoon for the launch of our new TLC. Not tender-loving care, as people would normally think of TLC, but Think Low Carbon Centre. Barnsley College's Think Low Carbon Centre is a 4.2 million project. It's an integral part of Barnsley College, and it's an integral part of our Think Low Centre strategy, a strategy which aims to promote the technology and techniques needed to make buildings low carbon. For those of you who may be less familiar with Barnsley College than others, we are the leading college-graded Ofsted college in England and Wales. At an Ofsted we had about 15 months ago, out of 22 grades, we scored 20 outstandings and 2 goods. That's an achievement which has never happened before, and I doubt very much will happen again, particularly with changes to the Ofsted regime. And let's not forget, this is Barnsley, South Yorkshire. Not a particularly well-off part of the country, an area which has never been acknowledged as outstanding in education. This college, #1 college in the country in Ofsted gradings. I pause there because I just want that to sink in, let people have a little think about what type of institution Barnsley College is and what kind of job our members of staff do for our students, not just our young students, but our adult students as well. We have had many a success over the last few years, and just to give you an idea of our position today, I should give you some key facts which you may not be aware of. We have an annual turnover of £36 million, over 650 staff. They don't all live in the borough, they're from the borough and beyond, but 650 jobs are here. We deliver a very, very wide range of vocational academic courses, from foundation to level 7. We're the second largest landowner in the Barnsley borough. Beyond our successes with Ofsted, we also have numerous service standard awards, including TQS, Matrix and LSIS beacon status. We currently engage with over 630 employers, and we have 980 apprentices. All of these accolades and successes mean we're well placed to drive forward this Think Low Carbon initiative. The centre itself will demonstrate renewable energy in action and a range of energy-efficient methods and materials. Barnsley College has partnered with the Building Research Establishment to develop the centre and attracted £2.75 million in investment from the European Regional Development Fund. Just an interesting little aside here, and I hope it doesn't put anybody's nose out of joint, but the ERDF trying to reclaim their funding from us on a very obscure accounting technicality. We were advised no point in challenging this because colleges never win their challenges against the ERDF. Wrong. We won our challenge, and we're the first institution to get the money back to go forward. So if any of you in the room are doing the ERDF, make sure that your accounting processes are really spot on. Otherwise, you'll be in the same position as Barnsley College was. and you might not win. End of the lesson there. Our excellent partnership with architects Jefferson and Sheard, and they are here today. They also worked with us on our award-winning Old Mill Lane site, the big red building up on the hillside here. And Jefferson Sheard, by working with them, has resulted once again in outstanding aesthetics of this building. We are very proud of the end result, and today is really about launching not only the technology and the knowledge transfer that this centre will provide, but also to celebrate the hard work and collaborative efforts it has taken to complete the project, and indeed the partnerships to come, which will drive the Think Low Carbon ethos on. I'm not going to say any more because there are 2 or 3 other speakers. The next speaker will be Lord Redesdale, but I'm going to allow Wendy Bussey, our MC, to give the introductions. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frank. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce Lord Redesdale. Lord Redesdale, who also spoke at our event back in July last year in London, where we launched the vision for this centre, has been a supporter of the centre ever since. Rupert Redesdale is the youngest life peer created so far, initially admitted as a hereditary in 1991 and subsequently returning as a life peer in 2000 at the age of 33. For 11 years, he was heavily involved in international development as the party's spokesperson and also travelled widely in his capacity as an election monitor for the United Nations. His numerous committee positions in Parliament included Vice Chair of the All-Party Parliamentary Group for Climate Change. Lord Redesdale is Chairman also of the Anaerobic Digestion and Biogas Association, advising members on government anaerobic digestion policy. He is also Chairman of the Nitrogen Economy Development Partnership and the Carbon Management Association. He is a patron of the City of London College. Lord Redesdale.
It's always embarrassing when people read out the things you've done and you go, no, it's not that good. So this is a fantastic building, and it is a great demonstrator of what you can actually do with buildings. Can I just put my credentials on the table? I was defence spokesman for the Liberal Democrats during the Iraq War, so completely failed on that one. We seem to have gone to war anyway. And after that decided I'd strike out new and went on environment, and I've introduced more pieces of regulation, private members' bills on energy saving. And it's amazing in Parliament how few people are actually interested. Indeed, you fell into the category of being a sort of yurt-dwelling yoghurt muncher of the highest order whenever you go and say, oh, the environment. Things have changed now, quite dramatically. It is funny how energy, which was just seen as an issue that you never actually talked about, has suddenly turned into a very, very important issue. And I'm actually speaking at a lawyers' forum tonight to ask whether directors are actually meeting their fecundary duties under the Companies Act if there isn't a member of the board actually responsible for energy. Because the question is, with companies now spending between 10 and 20% of their bottom line on energy, why aren't they taking it more seriously? And the reason is, up until now, it's just been a big lump that you really didn't do anything about. And this is the other thing, energy managers. Energy managers, you look at the demographics, really, really poor. They're in their 50s, 60s. They're usually stuck in HR or property or services. And they haven't really been given that sort of status. That's about to change. Companies are really, if they're going to survive, going to have to start thinking incredibly seriously. Just to put it in context, this year, I love this about George Osborne. Man's genius. Well, he's a coalition partner, so I have to say that. But he's against green taxes. Stood up at conference. Yet he hasn't realised that actually he's changed the CRC, the carbon reduction commitment, from a carbon abatement scheme into a tax. That was announced in the last budget. This budget, it comes in. 750 million to £1 billion is going to be raised this year alone from British industry in taxation to do with carbon. The rise in the climate change levy and the CRC between them are going to raise energy costs for companies 11% next year, and that's without a rise in fuel prices. And of course, in the back end, 14% increase in fuel prices anyway. I really found it amusing when people said fuel prices, oh, they're not going to go up very much. Well, Deutsche Bank came out with a report saying 50% in the next 5 years. I actually sat down with the analyst who wrote that, said, you're having a laugh. He said, yeah, I reckon about 100% in the next 5 years, easy. You know, that's quite a lot. That's 20%, 25% a year you're talking about. You know, people are starting to go, oh my God, that is quite worrying. Yet we use energy like water. You know, how many students here, you know, don't even think about lights? I mean, okay, they're teenagers, they never think about lights anyway. But what I find is there's so little understanding of what we're using. I'll give you one prime example. Okay, who here sent an email this morning? Come on, just about everybody. Yeah, somebody at the back saying, no, I don't even have a computer. No, and if you have an attachment, did you think about the carbon cost of that? You're nodding. Okay, what is the carbon cost of an email with an attachment?
Well, I've got an eco-book, so it measures it, it's about 0.1 something of
It's about 4 grams of carbon over its life cycle. It's actually quite high because the email gets backed up on 4 different servers, and it stays alive for 5-6 years. So although it's a tiny amount of energy, now how many emails has everybody in this room sent this year? And it doesn't matter if you deleted them, because the backup system, you know, how many people have put, for your information, never looked at an email and sent it on? You know, and then it gets backed up in the same way. And it's a really interesting one. You turn around to companies and you say, well, your fleet manager, you don't say, tell you what, you know, drive to London, downward, you know, take the M1, you know, as fast as you can go, quicker you get there, have a cup of tea at the other end. Now, you put a sat-nav on his vehicle to make sure he's not exceeding the speed limit, he's driving properly, keeping the fuel costs down. But we allow people onto computers without even thinking about it. And the problem, of course, is we're talking about building medium-sized data centres all over the place. What's the power consumption of a medium-sized data centre? It's about 40 to 80 megawatts. Now, if you want to build the turbines to fire that, which is usually, oh, it's all right, we're building renewable energy, that's 60 turbines. I haven't seen many 60 turbines round here, but you're going to have to put them almost everywhere to meet that demand. So it is quite interesting to see how things are moving. So been thinking about this for a long time and decided to do something about it. And I was just on the point when we met last time of setting something up called the Carbon Management Association. Now, the Carbon Management Association is a brilliant idea. It's actually genius. Genius is that flash of brilliance you have when you've been working on something for 10 years. And you finally get it down to a manageable thing. And what we're going to do is approve carbon management courses. Very, very simple idea. We will just approve carbon management. We're not going to accredit, say to the education system among you. We're just going to approve them. And if a person passes the course, they end up on our website, and with the course and how we grade it. Barnsley College, I am sure, will be running CMA courses, as a lot of organisations will. Why? Because it's our members, which is the companies, who will actually direct what courses should be done. And just to put it in context, last week we signed up on the main board Land Securities and Hammerson, so that's 15-20% of London's building stock, AMEC, one of the big consultancies, and we're in discussions with Coca-Cola and a vast number of other companies. You know, I only started 3 weeks ago, and they're knocking on the door because of the idea is we're going to run a very simple, basic one-day course for all employees to work out what the cost of computing is. What the, you know, does cold air or hot air cost more? Does anybody realise that cold air actually costs in so many companies because they prop the window open? That sort of stuff, you've got to actually train the staff, and then there's going to be a vast number of courses going on from that. I'm pretty sure within a couple of years it'll also be a regulated activity. It might be self-regulated, but you can't meet the objectives of the 2008 Climate Change Act to meet the further objectives which are coming in, phase 4 and 5, without behaviour change. And behaviour change is going to be the big one. This is why this sort of college and demonstrator is going to be so important. Because it's not just a question of having somebody through the door and saying, Oh, fantastic. Yes, I've heard of people stuffing straw in the wall, or denim, or insulating material. You know, they'll actually be going, right, I need to now stick that in my building. I need to know how to do this. I need to know how to train my staff. I need to know how they got to actually have the skill set to come forward. And that's where I think this college is going to be an exemplar, hopefully. And you're going to see it replicated in a large number of areas. Because how many companies can actually afford to treat energy in the same way? If it does go up in 5 years by 100%, you're looking at some of the big supermarkets. Well, some of them are in tens of millions of pounds they'll actually have to meet in 2 or 3 years' time, extra on top of what they're looking at. It's going to put an enormous strain, and then there's the taxation involved in that as well. So it is a very interesting area, energy. It's something that's been totally ignored, but it is a massive opportunity. It's a massive opportunity for companies to say, right, we could save an enormous amount of our energy because we have to. It's not going to be greenwash anymore. One of the really depressing things is a few years ago, all energy and carbon went into CSR, you know, corporate social responsibility. That's really an outdated term now. Really now what we need to do is have the energy managers. But, you know, it's a trend that's happening. A few years ago, we didn't have a Department of Energy. Now we have Department of Energy and Climate Change. But just to put it in context, I'll finish on this because otherwise I could go on for hours. You've given me a stage, it's fantastic. I'm not leaving, it's mine. Just put it in context, my new chief executive, who's actually been seconded from AMEC, so it's costing them a fortune, it's great. Not costing me anything as yet. When he wanted to get involved in this, he actually came along and said, I really want this job, and I'll get it paid for. I said, fine. He phoned me up, he said, Rupert, there's a problem here. I've been doing the figures for AMEC on trying to work out how we actually pull our figures together, and he's been doing it for other companies. And he says it's really difficult to find the information. I said, yep. He said, but I've got a second problem, that I've then been pulling the generating figures we've got for the country. Between 2015 and 2025, we don't have enough generating capacity to meet demand. What's the answer? I went, yeah. He said, no. I've told you what the problem is. And I said, yes. He said, what's the answer? I said, that's an interesting question, because I've asked the government over 10 years. We know this is going to happen, what the answer's going to be. And they haven't come up with it. Problem we've got is there an answer? The big nukes aren't going to come on till 2030. They're breaking ground now, but they're not going to come into big generation till 2030. We're building as much wind as we can, but there's problems with that. We're actually pulling a load of coal down in 2015 because of the environmental standards. We can re-permit them maybe, but there's going to be implications of that. We could start building gas power stations or new coal. Well, we can't build new coal power stations because they have to be paid for by people like E.ON. Well, or NPower. NPower pulled out and they took a real bath on pulling out of their coal power station. They're not going to build another one here. They can build it anywhere in Europe. Gas. That's an interesting one because we actually were self-sufficient in gas 10 years ago, exporting it. In a couple of years' time, we'll be importing 85% of our gas from Russia and from other places. We're on the end of the line. It's going to be very, very expensive. So we can build a lot more gas power stations, but don't expect it to be cheap. Shale gas is meant to be this wonderful panacea. But there is a big question mark. They say, oh, we found this enormous amounts of gas. The company that found it is actually putting its assets up for sale. Not a great deal of confidence that they're actually going to be starting to pump shale gas out. And even then, there's only a very few places they could actually pump it from, because if you do muck up the aquifers, how do you actually ensure against mucking up an aquifer? If you muck up an aquifer, you can't get water. That place is suddenly very, very difficult to populate. Bit of an issue there. But I'll leave you with that, because people aren't taking this seriously enough. It's always somebody will come up with a magic solution. We'll put tiny turbines on the roof. It'll be fine. There is an issue here. I went to a very, very boring conference. Well, I thought it was going to be very, very boring. It was about regulating energy use through tariff. Now, I thought it was going to be a conference on switching, which is one of those great cons that DEC has been running around with, you know, saying it's great if you switch. Well, that's just chairs on, you know, deck chairs on the Titanic. Actually, it's very easy. You can actually reduce the amount of energy people uses. Very, very simple economic argument. You just drive the price up. That's the way you actually stop industry using energy. It's really quite worrying, you know. So I'd say not only is this a fantastic facility, it's also a resource for business and the local community to use, because economic survival for industry and fuel poverty is going to be a fact of life for a lot of people over the next few years. I've just made the most depressing speech. But I'll just finish on the bright side. We will be working with Barnsley about introducing CMA courses, which means that everybody who goes through here is almost certain to get a job. That's got to be good news.
Thank you, Lord Redesdale. Our next keynote speaker is George Clark. George Clark is an architect, writer and lecturer from Sunderland. George wanted to be an architect from the age of 12. He studied the subject at the University of Newcastle and University College London before starting his own practice, Clark Desai, with business partner Bob Desai, and their portfolio included innovative residential, cultural and urban design projects across the world. In 2011, George left and set up his own company called George Clark & Partners. George Clark & Partners is an inspirational new multidisciplinary company that covers all aspects of architecture, design, project management, construction and property development. After making 3 successful series of Build a New Life for 5 from 2003 to 2006, George became the face of architecture at Channel 4 with the launch of The Home Show in 2008, Restoration Man in 2009 and the new campaign series The Empty Home Show. Through his new company, TV presenting, lecturing and research, George aims to make architecture popular and accessible to everyone and to share his passion for architecture's ability to transform our everyday lives. It gives me great pleasure to introduce George Clark.
I'm not sure what Kevin MacLeod would say for me being labelled as the face of architecture on Channel 4. He'd be mortified about that. Thanks for inviting me along today for such a special occasion and to help launch the Think Low Carbon Centre, which I believe has all the right ingredients to become a great resource for professionals and householders alike. It's quite a green building. It's a very green building, to the point where we're thinking about maybe closing the toilets for the rest of the day. And if you want to recycle that kind of brown bag that's on your chair at your own convenience, that'd be fine. It's a bad gag, but I was always looking at the bag saying, what's that for? It can be recycled in some form. Not only does this building exemplify what can be achieved through the use of new and emerging materials and technologies, but it's seeking to build up a skilled workforce. And for me, this is something that I'm really passionate about. I did my BTEC ONC back when I was 16, turned up at Wearside College, and the facilities there, and won't mind me saying this, were absolutely awful. I mean, we were in this kind of 1960s carbuncle, and to try and do any testing or any understanding about the environment there was just a disaster. And I think anyone from the industry, from the local area and from the college that has this facility should be very proud to be part of it. So whether it be an 18-year-old coming into the construction industry for the first time, or a contractor with 20 years worth of experience, looking to remain skilled and competitive in a very, very changing market, and ensuring that people have the right skills and knowledge to benefit from the emerging green economy. This is absolutely vital when it comes to employment in an area, particularly when unemployment is rising at the rate that it is, and in areas such as Barnsley that have a proud manufacturing and mining history. Lord Redesdale alluded to the challenge that we face as a country in cutting CO2 emissions and the construction of a new zero carbon buildings that have a key part to play. But if you walk around any village, town or city, you'll see that the real challenge is how we improve existing buildings. And every single programme that I've ever made has been about existing buildings. I've never done a Kevin MacLeod and built a new build house. Restoration Man's about recycling the old. The Empty Homes campaign was about recycling the old. Building New Life in the Country was about recycling old buildings in the countryside as well. And when we think that 75% of all the existing buildings that we've got now are still going to be standing in 2050, we've got 25 million existing properties. We've got a fantastic housing stock on the face of it, but when you get under the skin of it, ecologically, it's a mess. So we've got some of the oldest, dampest and coldest buildings in Europe. God, that's depressing. Homes and workplaces that leak out heat are not just bad for the planet, but also bad for the people living in them and working in them. And while we've got 350,000 long-term properties standing empty, which is a scandal, and vulnerable to the elements, more and more people living in poorly insulated buildings are struggling to pay their heating and energy bills, something that Lord Redesdale's just touched on again. The prices are just going to get more and more expensive. So why we can't get those prices down and make our homes more comfortable and get our energy costs down and save the environment at the same time, it becomes a win-win-win situation. But from the economics, it's unbelievably difficult to do. So it's a massive undertaking. But I agree completely with Lord Redesdale that with the right skills and commitment, we can definitely meet the challenge head on. And actually, I think it's going to be our small to medium-sized contractors, those small builders out there that are really going to make a big difference. And that's why a facility like this, for retraining people in the current technologies, is so important. The Centre's created an excellent space in which to provide the knowledge needed by SMEs to deliver low-carbon, energy-efficient homes. But the Centre, with the help of BRA experts, of which there are a few here today, also plans to develop what I think is a unique innovation park. Unique because alongside houses built to code for sustainable home standards, are those built to standards that span around a century of construction. And this is why it taps into everything that I do on Restoration Man. You're taking the old, recycling the old, and dragging it into the 21st century. It means that manufacturers and contractors can install and test the latest low-carbon products and solutions on houses from different eras in a single space. I believe that buildings have the ability to transform our everyday lives, and this is real stuff. You know, I do a lot of work for Shelter as well, and how we refit existing properties. Seeing the way that people's lives change through good homes and good buildings is an absolute inspiration. And it goes without saying that warm, healthy, energy-efficient buildings transforms lives for the better. It's this principle that lies at the very heart of the Low Carbon Centre. And I don't mind the fact that it's abbreviated as TLC, because I think a bit of TLC in the architectural game, and when it comes to homes, is no bad thing. And on a personal level, I'm kind of thrilled that we've got away from talking about buildings as property and about investments and about commodities. And when we start talking about home and what home means to people, it makes a massive difference to how they perceive the way that they live. The Centre has the potential to make a hugely positive contribution to improving construction skills, which is no bad thing, and creating energy-efficient homes, offices and buildings. And I really look forward to seeing how this building really transforms the industry in this area and hopefully nationwide in years to come. So a huge congratulations to everyone involved in this building, whether it be the architects, the engineers, the BRE, the college, the people who actually put up the funding for the building as well. Congratulations on a fantastic structure. Well done.
Thank you very much, George. Finally, I'd like to introduce the college principal, Colin Booth, and he will close today's proceedings before we then break for lunch and let people look around the building. Okay.
Thanks, Wendy. I know it would have been boring, but I obviously don't have a history, but there you go. Can I... Sorry about that. Can I just say thank you very much to Lord Redesdale and George Clark for their inputs, which were great. After this, I'm going to ask Lord Redesdale for some advice about how you get to interview people, and when they come to an interview and desperately want the job, they also say, and I'll get the job paid for, because I could do with some of that. That sounds a great idea. Lord Redesdale said this building was about behaviour change, and that's precisely what it's about. It's about working with people and changing the behaviour of householders, people in homes, including people like me, and I'll refer back to that again because I've had a nightmare trying to deal with my own home. But that's partly what this building is about. It's about making it easier for people to retrofit and deal with their own homes. But it's about behaviour change, not just in individual householders. Lord Redesdale talked about Now, I know when we came down to London, you were talking about the Chartered Institute of Carbon Management. Has that changed now?
No, we're going to do the Chartered Institute of Energy Managers.
Right.
It's a separate organisation.
Okay. But it is about behaviour change in industry, in getting employers to think more about how they manage their energy, but also in the construction industry. And I know that working with Tomlinson's and Jefferson Sheard to build this building, it was a learning curve for us, but I think it was a learning curve for our architects and the people building it as well. It was the first time that some of the technologies had been used, or that those contractors had used those technologies. So that was a learning experience for us as well. And it's about communicating and getting people talking together in terms of manufacturers, small builders, large builders, construction industry, individuals, getting all of those people together and thinking in the same way. So, this is the first stage in a wider plan. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about what the wider plan is, because we're launching this building, and it's a great building. But this whole site, our vision is for it to become a low-carbon innovation park. And I just want to say a few things about where we're going next. And George touched a little bit on this. Behind me, there's a picture of demonstrator houses. Down at the bottom of the site, we're going to build 10 houses. Okay, 3 of them different designs, code 6, so zero carbon houses, or there or thereabouts. The other 7, well, there's going to be a Victorian house, an Edwardian house, and then a house from the 30s, 40s, 50s, 70s and 90s, I think. So covering well over 100 years of buildings, house building, and built to the design, specifications and materials of each period. So we will then measure how energy efficient those houses are with our partners in the universities in Sheffield. And then we're going to retrofit them with a range of different techniques, materials, and then measure them again to see exactly how we can improve them, and to improve our knowledge of how to do that, and to look at the materials and techniques, but then to demonstrate those to householders and to the construction industry. And we believe that that's the only place that something like that will have happened, not only in this country, but in Europe at this stage. So that's part of bringing that people together, changing behaviour, communicating with people. And I'm not sure whether there's a TV programme in that, but you might like to think about it, George. Once we get it underway. So those are demonstrator houses at the other end of the site. One of the other things we want to prove, because when we talk to house builders in particular, one of the issues is, I went to a Code 6 housing development, and NPS were some of the people we're talking to were very helpful in taking me up there to have a look at that. And that was a great housing estate built to Code 6, first one completed in this country. But it's social housing and has been subsidised by a grant. So one of the issues with it is if it was built commercially, it would have probably made a loss. So one of the things we need to prove is that you can build, the whole of the housing industry is supposed to be building zero carbon houses by 2016. And at the moment, everybody thinks that you can't make a profit doing it. So there's a big problem in there somewhere. If we're that close to it and we can't make a profit doing it, then I'm not sure how it's going to happen. Well, one of the things that we're determined to do in the centre of this site is we've got planning permission for 50 houses. We want to build houses to different designs, so not a whole estate of the same houses, different designs, zero carbon houses, and do it and prove we can do it commercially. So prove with partners that it's possible to build Code 5 and Code 6, zero carbon or thereabouts, houses and sell them for more than it costs to build them. Now, we won't make as much profit as perhaps a different design, but we want to make sure that that is possible, because at the moment, I think a lot of people think it isn't possible. So that's another development here. Thirdly, we're going to do a low-carbon industrial shed as a different building, but that will be to house our construction department. But we're going to make that, again, working with partners like BRI and BRIAM Excellent, or what's the standard above excellent? Outstanding. Has anybody done an outstanding BRIAM building yet? I don't know if somebody in BRI can correct me. Have they? All right, okay, well, we're going to go for it. We're going to go for it. A shed, BRIAM Outstanding Shed to house our construction department. We're then going to look at some managed workspace, because what we want on site is some of those really important small contractors and manufacturers and businesses that can benefit from working on the site here with us. So we're going to look at some light industrial units as well on this site. And we were talking to some people recently about adding some unplugged houses. So again, low carbon houses, but in this case, just completely disconnected from the national grid at all. So entirely self-dependent on the energy that they create in the house and use themselves. So a kind of range of things for the whole site. And many of you won't be familiar with the site, but this is quite a big site. We're right at one end of it. There's a lot of space, and I can't orientate myself because I never can. It's in that direction. Yes. All the way down to the end of the site. When we took the keys for this building a few months ago, literally on the same day, so it was pretty close to the wire, I have to say. We took the keys and then had a conference in here in the afternoon that was run on behalf of the Leeds City Region Local Enterprise Partnership. And what I remember from that was we had a couple of presenters talking about the number of low-carbon jobs. And I believe what they were saying was in Yorkshire and Humber, we're talking about an additional 24,000 jobs in low-carbon industries between now and 2020, which isn't that far away. So more than doubling. And low-carbon construction, retrofit, engineering was a subsector of that, but still substantial in the number of jobs. So we're about getting people jobs in the end and making sure that we can retrain and help retrain the construction industry in order for people to keep jobs and keep developing. We're in 2 city regions, so we're part of both Sheffield and Leeds City Region, both of whom have a major strand of development in terms of low-carbon building and construction and low-carbon industries. I've said this is about getting people together. I've said it's about working with our partners. One of our key partners are BRI, Building Research Establishment. I think are always referred to as BRI now. Is that correct? Anyway, BRI, Building Research Establishment. Key partner for us in helping us run seminars and get industry professionals in here working together. Other partners that we're working with, Dearne Valley College, Coalfields Regeneration Trust, particularly on working with local people to get them interested in this agenda. Barnsley Council we're working with very closely. The universities in Sheffield, and we're looking very closely with the council and some of our partners at the Green Deal at the moment and how we can get Barnsley to be one of the key areas that really gets success going on the Green Deal, which is about, we've got some real problems with the private sector housing stock in Barnsley and the energy efficiency of the private sector housing stock, and we desperately need to improve that. So we certainly think that Green Deal will be making that work will be a key thing in helping us improve the energy efficiency of the housing stock in Barnsley. Summit Skills and Construction Skills, the Sector Skills Councils we're working with extremely closely, and I think we are now a National Skills Academy for Environmental Technology, which is centred here as well, as of a few weeks ago, I believe. I'm going to finish there and say what's going to happen next is I believe that the 3 people that you heard before me, the 3 more important people, are going to cut the ribbon. And then we've got lunch and tours of the building, and you've got plenty of time to ask any questions then, but if anybody's got any questions now, I'm happy to answer questions. No? If we've got, so we've got tours of the building, plenty of time to ask questions. I also believe you've got some feedback forms, which I'm guessing are in the brown bags. So if you'd like to use them for that purpose rather than the one that George suggested, we'd be very grateful. Thank you.
If I can ask our visitors to make their way to the front of the building where we'll proceed with the ribbon cutting ceremony. Thank you.